What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Oh, you're not entertained? Let me entertain you. Today on the program, speaking of entertainment, I got Brian Douglas, the BCD Music Project. He's making a return engagement. We haven't talked to him since 2021, November 30th, 2021, to be more precise. So I'm excited to catch up and find out what's going on with Brian Douglas out there in Washington, in the Washington area. And then, what is it? Port Townsend, Washington. A real, it sounds like a tight-knit community, right on the water. So I'm kind of stoked. We'll probably talk more about that in the next few minutes. So stick around. Let's see. This week's shows, I have two public shows this week. So if you're in the Arkansas area, I encourage you to come on out and check out on Friday night. I will be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the video dance party karaoke jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. It's a little concert starring each and every one of you. People come up to me at the karaoke show. Usually I'm there on Friday nights. That's my usual Friday night gig. But people come up to me and they go, "Hey, what song should I sing? What's the crowd into?" That's the thing about karaoke. You could sing whatever you want. We're all adults here. You could sing anything you want. I think we're all adults here. Yeah, I think we're all adults here. I think that they're 21 and up, or they got a full bar. The kitchen's open, pool tables. They got a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, get out to the Rab in Conway, Arkansas on Friday night. That's from 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the a.m. That's jam-packed. Good times at the Rab. Always a good time. I enjoy myself. That's why I go there almost every Friday night of the year. You'll find yours truly right there at the Rab. And then on Saturday, about once a month, I've had the privilege of going to the Choctaw VFW in Choctaw, Arkansas. That's real close to Clinton, Arkansas, just a little bit north of Conway, Arkansas, and Greenbrier, Arkansas. So come on out to the Choctaw VFW on Saturday night. Now, I think they're scheduled from 9 to 12:30 or something like that, but I usually get there. I'm usually all set up by 8 o'clock. So I'd say 8 o'clock till at least 12:30 in the AM. If we're having a good time, man, they'll convince me to go a little bit later. If we're doing it, if they're still enjoying themselves. But they got a full bar. They got some good food. They got pool tables. They got a big giant dance floor, and of course they have the video dance party karaoke jam, a stage. It's all for you, at least for a few minutes. While you sing your song, while you sing your favorite song. What song should I sing? The song that you know the best, the song that you love, a song that you heard on the radio that you might want to try. You've been singing along with it for the past few weeks or the past few years or your whole life. So come on out, Choctaw VFW on Saturday night from 8 p.m. until at least 12:30 in the a.m. Come on, be there. Good people, good times, and the stories from the veterans. Come listen to some of the stories from the veterans. Yeah, sometimes they'll tell a couple, a story before they sing, but that's very rare. Usually you sit at the table, buy them a drink, and they'll tell you a few stories. Not just war stories. They've had a life other than war. I'm glad that they fought for me, because I certainly didn't fight. Not that I didn't, want to or wouldn't, but I never had the opportunity, and I'm glad that they did what they did to ensure that we have freedom. Yeah, there. I appreciate the veterans. All right. That's it for the intro. Let's get into it with Brian Douglas of the BCD Project, BCD Music Project. I got him on Zoom. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user /KeysDAN. Zooming Brian Douglas now.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah, you win the game.
Did I win?
Yes, you win. Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
Brian Douglas, Mr. BCD project in the house. Got a new project. Man, you've been busy. The last time we talked, man, it's been about 2 years. Let's see, November 30th, 2021, if I'm looking at my files correctly. We spoke. You were moving and grooving. You were playing guitar and playing jazz for the people. A lot of, wineries. And you're still hanging out in Port Townsend, Washington. Let's catch up. Let's see what you're doing now. What's going on with Brian Douglas these days?
Well, it took a while to do this last album. It's been, like I said, a couple of years. And it was because I just wanted to take my time. I wrote the material, and then I wanted to go out and play it for a year before I recorded it. And so then, because when I do all my melody lines and all my solo lines, it's all in one take. So, I like to know what I'm going to do instinctively before I do it.
No,
so it just took a while.
I listen to a lot of comedians, and that's how they work out their material. They go take a new joke, some new material, and take it out to a comedy club and test it out on audiences. That's the only way that they can do it. That's the only way that a comedian can do it. I had no idea that an artist, a guitarist, a musician can and does do the same kind of thing, where you will test out some sounds on a new audience, see if they groove to it, see if they move to it. And, tell me about that. Were you testing out things on certain audiences? Did they get the chance to hear the new project? And it's called From Life to Life, by the way. I want to give away any spoilers. I want to give away all the spoilers. Let people know to go to the bcdmusicproject.com and go find that album. Go find that on Spotify and iTunes and go buy it right now. But were you testing out that material in its early stages on audiences? What kind of audiences?
Well, I did write it. It was, in its early forms, you write your stuff, and then you find through experimentation, what does that really work or does that not work? And so you kind of figure it out. And audiences are pretty much the same, breweries and wineries and libraries and art shows. And I also do a lot of memory care places and assisted living places. And I do those places. Number one, I really like it. I dig the people. And the music is so conducive, to that situation. It just gives them, I've been told that, by the people that work there, it just kind of keeps them laid back for the whole rest of the day. So, and that's kind of nice, it, hopefully brings them some joy. It brings me joy, to play it for them. I do get paid for it, but, but it's something that I just do really enjoy doing.
No, I remember we talked about that before extensively, and you've been doing that at least for the last 2 years, and probably a whole lot before then. But you were talking, you weren't just playing for the people; you were getting to know them, interacting with people. I remember, and I think we had that in common because I was doing a karaoke show at one point at an assisted living facility, and that's what you got to call them. Can't call them senior centers or old folks' homes anymore. It's the assisted living facility. And I remember that we had that in common. And when you talk to these people, some of them were professional singers in their former lives, before they retired, before they got to the assisted living facility. And I discovered that I think one day I do want to go to a assisted living facility. And here I am slurring my words, an assisted living facility. They got shuffleboard, they got games, they got bingo, they got three hots and a cot. I mean, and they take you to the mall from time to time. I think there's some good living in some of these places. I mean, I'm sure there's some downsides to them, but I mean, you get a room and you get to be entertained by Brian Douglas of all people.
You live in Florida, right?
I was in Florida. Now I'm in Arkansas, central Arkansas, real close to the Little Rock. I'm in Conway, in the Conway area, Conway, Arkansas, north of Little Rock. I know there's been some.
Well, the reason I say because I haven't seen a shuffleboard yet. But, we live in the great Northwest, so there's only so much outside time here, especially when you're old. You go in those places and they got them cranked up to 82 degrees and you're working up the sweat by the time you leave sometimes, But
yeah, I find that old folks are always cold in general. Why is it so cold in here? I think Eddie Murphy had a whole routine about it. Why is it so cold in here? It's cold in here. And it's always got to turn up the heat. And grandpa, it is hot in here. Africa hot. Tarzan couldn't take this kind of hot. It's hot. But but yeah, that's a general rule. They're always cold. They got a sweater on, even if it's 80 degrees. Now, funny enough, man, I'm from Miami. My brother also born in Miami. I went to the deep South, which is, here in Arkansas. He went to Walla Walla, Washington. So he's close to your neck of the woods. He had to go as far away from Miami FLA as he possibly could. And you went up north from California. You said California was too. What was it about California that you didn't like that you said, I got to go further north? This is crazy.
Well, basically, it was too expensive. That's what it really boils down to. And it also depends on where you're from in California, but I was from the Central Coast, San Luis Obispo, and it's really nice there. It's beautiful there. There's a lot of really great things about it. And I lived there from the time I was born till I was 28. And then I went to Colorado for a while and, a couple years. And now I've been here since 1990. And I've really learned to love it. At first, it was kind of hard because it's cold, in the winter. It's gray mostly, gray. And it's just sometimes it's bitter cold. But I've learned, especially through walking my dog, Charlie. And if he makes noise ahead of time, I apologize ahead of time. He's sitting down here. He's an Australian Shepherd. And he and I go for a 3-mile walk every day. And when you go for the walk and you're just outside and it's trees everywhere, forest, pine tree kind of things. It's just really pretty. Pine tree's not the right word, I'm sure, but, firs and, those types of
evergreen.
But it's just great. I like living here and I've gotten used to the colder weather. It's too hot in California.
It snows maybe 2 days a year. And here we are, a couple of old guys talking about the weather. It snows 2 days a year here in Arkansas. And that is 2 days too many. I still got orange juice in my veins. I'm a Florida boy. I got sand in my toes still. I don't like it. And I've almost convinced my wife, who is a hillbilly, or, born in Jasper, Arkansas, way up in the Ozarks, way out there, but I've got her convinced that, yeah, we need to retire next to a beach. In fact, sometimes she brings it up. Are you even close to the beach anymore, or is the beach not even a factor when it's so cold?
Well, we have a lot of beach, coastland. It's the Puget Sound. So, it comes in from the Pacific Ocean to the Strait, Juan de Fuca Inlet, right? The Sailor Sea, I guess they call it. And it goes everywhere. There's all these little groovy inlets. So yeah, I'm next to the water. Port Townsend kind of sticks out in the water like a thumb, and it has water all around it. And Whidbey Island's just across the way over. It's a beautiful place. It really is. So and yes, I don't like the snow either. I hate it.
It just came to mind.
It's pretty when it does it, but and I don't like driving in it, And when you take the dog for a walk in, and if you go for 3 miles in the snow, I don't think you could even really do it. It's too slippery. The dog will knock you down. You'll break something. It's just, you got to be careful. So there you go, man. Being an old man, like you said.
I don't know if you made this correlation. You're in Port Townsend, Washington. Sounds a lot like Pete Townsend, a famous guitarist of the Who. And he had did he play a Strat like you do? Do you play a Strat?
My headshot that I took years ago that I use still all the time, I have a Strat. I normally play. My favorite guitar is a Carvin, and it plays itself. It's a beautiful guitar. Pete Townsend, I don't even know. I think he played a Strat. That's a long time ago.
I know you don't even pay attention to the guitar when he's swinging his arms like that, doing his thing when he's playing, on Baba O'Reilly and doing it. I mean, the Who came to the Hollywood Sportatorium down in Hollywood, Florida, and they had a concert that it was one of the loudest concerts ever, and it was over 700 decibels at some point, which is deafening. But I could hear it. You didn't have to even be in the Sportatorium. You could hear it outside the Sportatorium. And I think that's what their goal was, is to go out with a bang, make it loud. But you're not that kind of guy. You're more, man, you want the chill music. I had a chance to listen to some of the music from Life to Life, and what a great offering. 11 fantastic songs, just chilling. And you say it's a Carver guitar that you made all that melodic music on?
Well, it's a Carvin, Carvin. It's not Carvin anymore. They changed their name to Kiesel. They're now Kiesel guitars. As far as the style that I play now is, I played Pete Townsend kind of music. I've played all that loud stuff. And I think, man, you just get to a point that, for me anyway, not everybody, but for me, I just got to a point where I like chill music. I like to be able to play melodic, and, my styles change a lot. But I just like it that way now. My hearing, I'm trying to keep the rest of my hearing. You play with like loud bands, and your hearing I still have ringing in my ears. I have to sleep to a noise machine, and when the power goes out, it's like horrible because you just lay there and listen to your heartbeat and your ears going ring.
Tinnitus, man. No, tinnitus comes with the business. It's one of the hazards. I wear these headphones probably at least once every day since 1986. Since I started on the radio and put my first set of cans professionally on. Even before that, I was in high school wearing these headphones, jamming music and sound straight into my head. It can't be good for you. And, over the years, it's taken its toll. Do you wear in-ear monitors? Do you wear ear protection? Or do you even have to, do you keep it soft enough to where, and mellow enough to where it's not really bothering you that much? Because I have those tones myself. I hear it right now. Ooh, ooh. It's a constant. It's forever.
Yeah, well, the caveat of wearing ear protection is that once you can't hear anything once you put it in. And like earplugs, if you take those earplugs and you try to put them directly in your ears, I don't like those because it crams wax down your ears, right? And I try to keep my ears clean all the time, free of that, but it does. You put wax in there, it makes it worse. And so that's what the volume of the level that I play at now, I don't have to worry about the ear protection. And in your case, I think personally you're better off wearing headphones like that instead of using like people use earbuds. I think earbuds make things worse. Yeah. I think it ruin your hearing even faster than something like that, because with those, you can hear the bass and the fullness of everything, right? And you probably get a pretty nice sound out of those, because I use nice headphones For mixing, I don't use them to mix, but I use them in my, the comparison, my studio speakers and stuff. So you go through both, and you want to have a nice set of headphones so you can hear it really pretty well. And cranked, I just don't do cranked anymore. Can't do it.
Understood. One of the secrets of when I'm setting up my PA system for my shows is I make sure that I'm standing behind the speakers. I'll have a little monitor for myself, whether it be headphones or maybe a solo speaker turned down a little bit, but I'll have the main live speakers ahead of me. So the audience is getting the brunt of the sound. I'm getting, like the bass part, the back part of the speaker. I don't know how you set up your system. If you carry, maybe a solo, usually I see the solo guitarists, they'll get a Bose stick or maybe like a little amp. What's your setup when you go out on the road?
Well, that's exactly what I use as a Bose. And it's an older one. I got, my sister-in-law gave it to me. It was so nice. She got it from a friend of hers. And it has like a bass module that comes with it, and it's kind of funny, they were trying to sell it at first, but people didn't want to buy it because it wasn't Bluetooth capable. And so personally, I would rather have a cord because Bluetooth goes out and then you're screwed Bluetoothed and out of luck. So
I get what you were going. I get what you were going. Now, you were going for a very famous saying, but you were trying to tailor it for yourself. I get it, and my loyal listener understands what you were trying to do. No, I understand. The wired is the way to go. I have this wireless keyboard, and it, when it's working, but when it doesn't, I have to move it around. I have to hit it. Use a hammer on it a little bit. But no, I like wired. It's very reliable.
Reliable, exactly. And then so I have a little amplifier that I have. I got, it's a little Boss Katina 50-watt amp. And I did a bunch of research. I had an amp that died. And tube amps, so expensive, so who can afford that? But this has like this beautiful, warm, clean, tubey sound to it. And so you just take that and you run it directly into the Bose, and it does cancel the speaker out of the amplifier because it's just, it's not super duper expensive, but that tone from the amp goes directly through the Bose, and it sounds great. So that's all I need. And I can cover a pretty good size area with that. And if not, I've got more equipment, but I'd rather not do that.
Yeah. People ask, hey, do you drag a trailer around? No, I don't want to be big enough to where I have to drag a trailer around from show to show. I have just enough, and I have backup. I'll have a couple of speakers, and then I'll have a couple more speakers as backup in case those primary ones go down. Hey, you being a pro, you're always investing in that equipment, making sure that gear is top notch. People go, oh, you make a lot of money being a DJ. Yeah. But, if I make $1.99 is going right back into business, buying microphones, buying headphones, buying, new equipment, because this stuff, electronics goes down. Guitars. I'm sure you've been buying guitars and strings and picks and, I don't know. Are you recording all of these albums on your own in your house?
Yes, I am recording these in my house. I just use my computer here that I'm sitting in front of. And, I guess that's really part of the reason of the simplicity of what I do. I do what I do because when I go play live, I want people to hear the representation of what I do. So the challenge is really, when you play this style of music, it's like almost making it like piano music, if you will, and hopefully make it interesting enough that people will want to listen to it And so when I record it as if I were to go play it live, so that there's no misrepresentation. You know, if you do like a big, I use Cubase. Cubase is great. I could add all the bass stuff, and I could add all these drums, and I could add da 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 da. But then when I went up to play somewhere, and I played what I played, people would be like, "Well, what's this? You know, this is nothing like what's been represented on your website." So that's the reason why I do it the way I do it. Hopefully, people like it. I think it's good for people who just want to listen to music in their office. Study, you know, it's just laid back and it's not obtrusive. And, so that's why I do what I do. Yeah. I just record everything here on my little home studio.
What's not to like? And it is simplistic, and hearing loss or not, you have a great ear for mixing, because even I guess Cubase came out back in the early 90s. I know I bought a microphone or something over at Guitar Center. Please sponsor me, and please sponsor Brian Douglas, Guitar Center. Okay, now I bought a microphone, and they gave me like this sample CD of Cubase, like a limited version of it. And I played with it a little bit. I toyed with it, you know, and I found, well, I mean, when I went to school, they gave me Cool Edit, and that's still what I use now. It's called Adobe Audition. Please sponsor me, Adobe, and please sponsor Brian Douglas, the BCD project. No, but you know, I use, you know, people, artists find what they find and use what they use. Have you been using Cubase for a long time? Is it a program that's very similar? I don't know if you use Pro Tools or Cool Edit or Adobe Audition or anything else. I'm not familiar with how the interface of Cubase has evolved over the years.
Based on the last 3 albums, and they keep making improvements as far as I don't want to get into technical aspects because I don't know the technical aspects, but they have made improvements. And thank you for saying that I do a good mixing job, because I hate mixing. You know, I've played guitar since I was in 3rd grade, and they say to be an expert at something, you should have 10,000 hours in it. And I probably do. And people who do mixing, my hat's off to you people who are professionals and do that job, because it's really hard. And what I'm doing is to getting, you know, there's all these things you're supposed to do, like the drums are supposed to be here in different parts, and the bass needs to be here, guitars need to be here. You can't have frequencies covering up other frequencies, da 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 da. So it's and even doing what I do is like, it's hard to do, because like I have one guitar will have like this clean tone, but then the other guitar has to have, I like a clean tone, but it's got to be a little different. You can't have one bassy here and one bassy here. It has to have a difference in, you know, the frequency, so that it doesn't just turn into a big jumble mess. And that's kind of like what I've learned. They seem to get better each time, and God willing, if I do another one, it'll be better. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I looked up Cubase, and it looks very similar to any other recording program. It does have quite a few bells and whistles in it. Just looking at the picture, you know, I know I use Adobe Audition, and mixing voice is a whole lot different, a whole lot less complicated than mixing music. You know, if I mix the voice, all I'm doing is raising the levels to make sure that they're all the same. And then there's even a button under the effects thing that says mix master. Press the button, whew, it raises the levels up but cuts off the top, so that way it's not hot, and it comes out just fine. I don't know if Cubase has a very similar interface where what do you press a button and all of a sudden, whoop, everything's perfect or what?
No. No. So I usually I'm only dealing with two tracks because I'm just using two guitars. So I'll lay down the first track and you do it in mono, and then you get all that done. And when you're doing it, you have to go through, you got to make sure, like you said, it's not too hot. You can't have any clipping. You have to leave yourself enough headroom in volume for a later adjustment, so there's all these things to consider. Even just putting down the track. I guess the main goal is to make it sound as pristine as it possibly can. And then you add that second track. So I'd play along to the first track. And so I'm doing it all live. I'm not doing any cutting or pasting. So I'm playing all the melodies and all the solo thing live along with the pre-recorded rhythm track. Then you have to mix it all. So then you got to mix, you got to get the rhythm track mixed right. And then I do a rough one, and then you do the lead one. And then you just go back and forth and back and forth. And so like you'll have to like mute one so you can get the other one EQ'd exactly perfect. And then you just go back and forth. And then when you get done all that, then you take that and you export it into a file, and then you master it. So then you open up your mastering software, and then you drag that wave file, the finished wave file, into your mastering software. And so what it does is, instead of having two separate tracks, you have two tracks in one track, but it's in stereo. And so then you just add a little more spice and warm it up. That's what I try to do mostly, is just have it as warm and rich as it can be without it being, like vibrating. You don't want too much bass. And then, I use TuneCore. Go TuneCore. I love TuneCore. They get me up on, iTunes and Spotify and Amazon and all these different places. And you upload it to TuneCore when you're ready to do it. And then it has to go through their process of looking at it to make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. And as a matter of fact, I got an email, the dreaded email of like, oh goodness, what did I do wrong? And they didn't specify it first, so I had to send them an email. Well, could you please let me know so that I just don't start tearing everything apart? And I had two tracks that had too long of a dead space at the end. They don't like any more than 5 seconds, and mine were like closer to 10. So I had to go into the software, cut it, re-upload everything. And then they went through their valuation process, and it was okay. Then they send that off to all these, digital stores, and then they go through their process. And iTunes is very particular, and so is Spotify. But once you get it all done, it's like, yeah, it felt like having a rock kind of lifted off after that process was finished. And so, yeah, it takes a lot of work to do it.
Yeah, but even 5 seconds sounds like a lot. I mean, with the short attention span that these kids today, well, even me, I have short attention span. Squirrel? No. So even like a split second, it might be too much time. But I try to cut off the tails and the front end of different audio projects that I do. Man, but it is a lot of work. But you remember doing reel-to-reel and using, you mentioned that you had a tube amp, that went dead on you. And the warmth of that, it can be emulated with digital, with this digital software. You can kind of add those effects that make it sound that way. I like moving forward with the time. Do I want to use a reel-to-reel ever again? Probably not. Do I want to put a needle on a record? It would be nostalgic, but do I want to carry a bunch of records around? Probably not, and CDs for that matter. I enjoy having every song ever made at my fingertips when I'm out of the show. And you can have all your, now, do you use backing tracks when you're at a show where you would add your, maybe you would lay down a rhythm and then add your front tracks when you're doing a show? Is that how you do it?
What I do is they don't make them anymore. So I found an extra one that was used online for a backup. But what it is, it's a Digitech looping pedal. And it will store 99 loops on the internal drive, and you can put an SD card in and it stores another 99 more. And what the neat thing about this particular pedal does is it allows you forward movement, where a lot of looping pedals, people who loop will stack their loops and just play along to that stack. But it doesn't have a lot of forward movement in itself. So if you were a jazz player and you had an A section and a B section and a C section, for instance, you could take A and 1, B and 2, 3 and C and store those in there. And you have to do it to where it's going to work together. You have to have a forethought in doing it. But then you can go back and forth between the sections and play all your melody lines and solos in between all of it. And that's what allows me to do my forward movement in what I do.
I'm so in
and you're
awe.
Talking about reel to reels. I had a friend of mine who was recording, an engineer in Nashville. And he did a bunch of famous people and all that. And there was something to be said about using reel to reel. Problem with reel to reel is the tapes degrade every time you do a second tape, and it's expensive. And there was a time when they had a strike, and all the old guys who knew the process of making tape, with the magnetic process and all that, right? Well, they all went on strike. They quit, and they couldn't find anybody to come because they didn't really mentor anybody because it was a dying kind of a thing, And long story short, they brought those guys back, and they still do make tape, but it's very expensive to buy tape. And you're right. It's so easy just to bring up all this wonderful recording software on your PC or your Mac or whatever you use and just be able to create. It's an amazing thing. And also what you're saying about having a world's catalog of music at your fingertips is also amazing. The caveat is people get to listen to it for free all the time. And a lot of times people don't get paid for that. They do get paid a little bit for streams, which is great. But I would rather have it the way it is now than, sell records and have people buy the records, because you have way more people who are able to listen to the music. And I think it's so wonderful to be able to, there's so much talent out there. My wife and I sometimes will watch music videos on YouTube, on TV. We don't have cable. We just stream everything.
Yes.
And the talent is just nuts. There's so many wonderful musicians and other talented people out there. It's just wonderful to be able to watch it.
Yeah, I'm a child of the MTV era. I appreciate music videos. Ever since I had the chance to put 2 VCRs back to back with strictly music videos, and I DJ'd a party like that with 2 VCRs, back in the early 90s, and that was I'm hooked. Ever since then, I play music videos when I'm doing my thing. So I appreciate that people take the time to make a visual representation of their music as well. I know you have a lot of visual, that you kind of stopped doing it like 3 years ago, of putting visuals, at least on the YouTube page that I found of yours. But I like playing. In fact, I'll play some of those up at various shows, and people will say, "Hey, who is that?" And I'll say, "Oh, that's Brian Douglas. I talked to him on the What Makes You Famous podcast." And hopefully it gets a couple of more ears, a couple of more eyeballs on your projects. But you're right. People aren't making money on streaming. People aren't making money on that. And, there's a lot of people that down the streaming, but I did get somebody that I was talking to that kind of made me see the light. The streaming, you're not making any money on it, but you have so much more potential for exposure. So somebody will invite you to a show, and then you'll make some cash. Be able to pay your bills. And
you're absolutely right. You do get some money for your streams. I mean, I get royalties from YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and Amazon and people listening. It's minuscule, but it is there, and that's okay. It's okay because who would listen to what I write if you didn't have that? So I would rather them listen for free than not listen at all. So I think it's, I like it that way. I guess it could always be better. I guess what it is for me, all that stuff that I do is a resume for me to get live gigs. And that's basically what it boils down to. That's where you make your money, is doing live shows.
All right. You were talking about your live shows. I do want to get into that because you have a lot of live shows that are coming up that are, I guess do you tour like for an album? Are you going to primarily be playing music off of the new album, or are you, still just grab out of your catalog of songs, or are you playing, when you play live, are you making up new stuff on the fly for the people?
I don't do a tour for an album. I'm nowhere near big enough to do that. It's just, I'm grateful to have gigs. So, and it's hard to get gigs, man. You have to get a hold of people and same old thing as it used to be. And so, I'm grateful to get gigs. I will play I'll play a lot of stuff from my new album if that's what is required. It's the same old thing, man. You got to play the room. And, sometimes people will be, you might want to start them off on, or you might start a couple of your own things, and then you'll cruise off on some jazz standards or something like that. You just look at the room and see what they want to hear, and I play that. That's basically what it boils down to.
That's smart. Play the room. I mean, I noticed that you have, all right, so let's run down the gigs that are listed on your website. You got April 7th, Cats in Our Laps with Phil Andrews. I guess
that's a radio show.
Okay. Do you do a radio show in a KPTZ in Radio Port Townsend from 9 p.m.?
Yeah, that's right. It's with a guy named Phil Andrews. And Phil and I have known each other for a lot of years. He used to be like a boat electrician. It put in really super duper fancy systems on big boats and little boats but anyway, he's got a great radio voice, and I've been on his shows. He's had a couple different ones a few times now, and then I've got I don't have much lined up yet. I think I only have like 3 things so far lined up, but that changes. You put a bunch of emails out there and it just kind of grows. I know I have an art show coming up that I don't have up there yet. I love doing art shows because people are showing off their original art and I'm playing original music, and I like doing the coffee time hour.
It fits.
So like when you go out, like, okay, so I'm going to play the Lavender Farm, Flourish Lavender Farm up in Sequim, Washington.
July 21st.
And they're going to have me from 11 until 12:30. And it's perfect because it's coffee time, and it's coffee time music. So I try to find gigs that are conducive to what I play and go from there.
No, it fits. It
And then,
fits like a glove.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No
And
problem.
then there's a lot of other stuff like I have on my website too, that not all my gigs are posted on there because I do memory care places and assisted living places like that. So I don't have everything listed up there because those aren't open to the public.
Right. You only put out your public shows. Whenever I open the podcast, I'll talk about the public shows, but I won't invite them to the weddings that I'm doing or the private parties that I'm doing. No, you cannot come unless you're invited. So, yeah, you have Sunday, July 21st at the Florist Lavender of Lost Mountain. That's in Sequim, Washington, and then Sunday, August 11th at the Vintage Portage Vineyards. That's got to be awesome, to be, I don't drink alcohol, but I can imagine if I did, I would be, having a nice glass of wine, Chardonnay or whatever, Pinot, and listening to some Brian Douglas in the background, man, just chilling, having a good time with my friends. I could see that. I could hear that. I visualize that.
Oh, I love playing at wineries. Vintage is a beautiful place. It's in downtown Port Townsend. It's outside as long as it's weather permitting. And the bay is right there. And their boats are cruising back and forth, and people are, just having a glass of wine. And, I don't drink either. I haven't drank for years and years and years. But, I'm not anti-drinking, but I would rather play at a winery or, maybe a brewery or something like that where people aren't getting hammered drunk.
Right.
Because I remember the old days, man, being rock bands or metal bands or something, and people are like coming up and slobbering all over it. I'm kind of done with those days.
I'm still kind of halfway in. I still get drunk uncle at the end of the night saying, "You need some help with your equipment?" No, drunk uncle, please go away. Go.
Yeah, there's always those guys, and then they drop your stuff.
Oh,
hey,
no.
let me look. And then they'll try to pick it up, and then they'll drop it. And it's like, dude, man, what are you doing? Go away. And you can't say that. I mean, I guess you could.
I
Depends on how bad they broke your stuff.
I have said, just leave it, go on. Somebody get this guy, go.
Like my dog, leave it. Charlie Brown, leave that.
Oh man! All right, look, we've caught up to where you're at right now. What is the future of Brian Douglas and the BCD music project? I mean, I love that you're old school versus new. If you look at the website, like I said, BCDmusicproject.com. I mean, it says it all. There's a record player. There's a needle on a record player. It takes me back to a time when I carried a box of records in my Peaches record box, or my whatever record company gave me a box to put my records in. Now, the limit was whatever's in that box is all you're going to hear. There is no internet. Right. If I don't have it in that box, you're not going to hear it. And that limits you, but it also makes it a little more intimate because you've already curated a playlist, and the bands do it too. They put a set list on the table or on the floor, and they say, "Oh, this is my set list. This is what I'm playing for the people." Now you can read the crowd and veer off that set list. Do you come up with a set list ahead of time, or is it all read the crowd?
Well, I might have an idea of what I'm going to do, but then once you get there, it's like, oh, and I'm limited because, like I said, all my rhythm stuff is all recorded on that box. So, like you having records, those are the only songs that I really have, unless I just read off a piece of sheet music and just do single guitar. I can do that too. I used to do that for years before I ever got into using a box to make it a little more complex. So I can still do that. I guess you could do all kinds of different things. might not want to see it.
Well, it's very versatile. It's very versatile. You have a repertoire. You have a lot of songs in your own personal bank that you've written. How many songs are out there? I only count.
Let's see.
I didn't count that.
19. Yeah. 1930.
At least 30 songs. That's 2 full hours.
So I got 30 originals, and then I have, 45 covers that I have on my box, So like I can do stuff like Nardis, which Miles Davis did that, or And I Love Her by the Beatles. I have that on. It's a really nice song. I have Don't Know Why. Jesse Harris originally wrote that, and Nora Jones made it ultra famous.
Yes.
I have, what is the name of that song? What is that? It's, anyway, it's an old tune. Louis Bonfa wrote it. So I have like all these jazz standards and pop songs that I play kind of in the same genre. It's all in the same genre. It's just easy listening guitar music, but I have enough that I probably have about 4 hours worth of material.
Oh yeah. Just the 30 songs is 2 hours right there, about 15 songs an hour. Now, do you do any storytelling?
Right.
Do you do any storytelling in there as well? Do you have a microphone?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yeah, I will talk. I enjoy actually talking with the crowd, but you can't do it too much because they get bored with it.
Oh yeah.
And they'll be like, "Get on with it, man. Play something." Okay, sorry.
Well, there's different crowds that are going to enjoy it. I'm sure the people at the assisted living facility enjoy when you give them a little talk to, when you're talking face to face with someone, when you interact with these people. It's, they spend a lot of people in assisted living facilities spend a lot of their time alone. So it's nice, alone in their room. So it's nice when someone actually takes the time out to say a few words to these folks, man. They're people. They're real people. Old folks are people too, man.
Yeah, and that's why I enjoy doing that job, is because of just that. I like hanging with them. There's so many. Well, there are people like everybody. They run into a couple, but usually everybody's very cool, and you meet like just a lot of very nice, warm people. And you're right. They just want someone to talk with. They appreciate you taking the time to talk with them. And so people need to know that they matter.
Yeah, I'm sure if they took the time to get out of their room and come to see you perform in the common area, they're ready to see a show. They're ready to hear some music, hear some tunes, ready to groove with you and hang out with their friends and spend some good time. That's one of those pursuits of happiness. I hope I don't have to work so hard one day and I get to spend a little more extra time with some friends, whether they're lifelong friends or friends I've made at the end of my life. Fantastic.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And so, and like this album, I guess this last album's kind of themed. It's, it's the album itself, the title track is From Life to Life. Mm-hmm. And I called it that because it's kind of a reflective thing, I guess. So, I look at it like I'm just a visitor here. And when I leave here, I'm going home to be with the Lord. And so that is like pretty much the description of where this album was coming from. And then you have like another Hope Eternal. That's another tune from kind of like the same thing. But then you have that one tune, Desert Sunrise. I don't know if you've listened to it. That is just kind of like a song about what it sounds like when the desert wakes up. All the flowers open up and the little things on the ground scurry, and, jackrabbits here, all that stuff, you know what I mean? So it's it's just kind of coming from a reflective place. And in the future, I don't know what the next one's going to sound like. Who knows? But, I'm already kind of starting to write. It'll probably be more. It's kind of funny. Usually I finger pick on most of my stuff. And there was about 3 or 4 songs that I used to pick for my rhythm tracks this time. And I think this next time I might go back more solely to the finger picking. And, but I'm not sure of the style yet. We'll see. We'll just see what it's going to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder how you name an instrumental, because if you got lyrics in the song, you can just pick out a couple of the lyrics and that's the name of your song. Do you name the song and then come up with it? Or do you have this tune that's in your head that you've laid out and you listen to it and you master it up and you go, hey, that sounds like a desert sunrise. That sounds like Open the Door and Run.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Open the Door and Run is I called it, I don't know why. If you listen to the sections of the song, so the opening of it is kind of, you think about, right? Somebody knocks on your door and you open it and it's kind of like you're like in this little happy place. And then all of a sudden there's a question. And that's kind of like the next section. And so you listen to that next section, it kind of like it'll take you there. And then the third section is kind of a little more frantic and it builds up and then it's like, wow, it just kind of sounds like that. So they usually, the name comes to me after I've played it for a couple times, or yes, I have like, I got the name first and then I'll write something to that. I've done that before. It's, I don't know, throw it in the bucket. Who knows?
Well, it's amazing that you can bring a tune up and that makes people happy and then bring a tune down and it makes people sad, makes people think, or you can just do a whole cornucopia of sounds and it'll make you queasy. It's magical what you do with music. And with this, doubler or the recorder that you have, where you can record stuff. Have you done it on the fly where you record the rhythm and then go into your lead part as well? Is that something you could do live?
I've done that before. It's not something that I really like to do because I'm not super accustomed to like stacking in my looping. I usually keep it pretty simple. I like the music. The technicality, is that the technique? I like the music to speak for itself, and not, I don't know, man. I like being prepared, I guess, more than anything else. Now, like when I do all my, like if you listen to, like I told you, the melody lines and the solos on those tracks, they are all done in one take.
Amazing.
So all the solo sections, all the improv is the improv. So some of that stuff a lot of it's made up on the fly. I have an idea of what I'm going to do and where it's going to go, but it doesn't stay exactly the same all the time.
And you put it out there, mistakes and all, and just, that it's out there. Yeah. Like the little.
Oh, no. If I recorded something and there was a brutal mistake on it, I would delete the track and start all over again. There has been a couple times when I've done a track 100 different times.
Yeah, but oh my goodness, listen to the sounds of the 70s and the 60s. You hear those little squeaks on the guitars, or you hear.
Oh yeah, I like those.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I listen for it. I listen for Brian May on Queen. His little squeak. You hear.
Yeah, right.
Oh, right. I love it.
I had somebody give me crap about it, on this album because I leave all those squeaks in there. They're like the little finger sliding things and stuff. And I like it there because to me, it's organic.
Yeah. And somebody listening.
That's what it sounds like when you play a guitar, it's there.
Yeah. Somebody listening over and over is going to wait for the squeak. Oh, this is where you hear the squeak. Squeak. And that's my favorite part. Bam. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I just leave the squeaks, man. The squeaks, squooks, and squawks. And there's sometimes like you'll hit a string where you would probably never be able to replicate that ever again, but it just happened and it was so perfect and you just leave it there. It wasn't intentional. That's all a mistake is something that wasn't intentional.
yeah, but sometimes
Unless it's
that's the
really
best.
a mistake.
Yeah, sometimes that's the best part. I think actors, when they don't want to read a certain line, I was listening to a podcast. Maybe I might have been Rob Lowe was talking about. He had this line that he didn't want to read, and his friend convinced him, "Hey, if there's a line that you don't want to read, that's the one that you want to that you probably should read because it's going to make you.
That's right.
It's going to make you famous. Going to make you infamous. And those little squeaks, those little imperfections, show that you're human. And those little imperfections in the music, it shows that there's a human actually playing. It's not a beat machine. It's not these pre-looped guitar licks that somebody put together with FL Studio, which is not. It's not a bad thing, but there's a difference.
It's not AI, man.
There's a difference between Brian Douglas and the BCD music project and a Fruity Loop. Somebody a rapper that's listening, that's rapping over a beat that's been pre-made. There's a difference there. They're both good. They're both equally enjoyable by different people, but you got to have both. You got to have a variety and flavor, and that's what you have, man.
Right.
You have songs that have come out of your head, and you have songs that you grew up on that you really enjoy grooving to, and when you play them, people are going to enjoy them as well. All right, my man. I think we've covered where you're at right now. You got From Life to Life out there on Apple. I got all the links in the show notes. So if people want to go to there, I have your Apple, you have your Spotify. I even have your YouTube on there. But more often than not, more than anything, go to your website and find out everything that is Brian Douglas, BCD Music Project. That's bcdmusicproject.com. And if people want to contact you, what are you open to? Are you open to collaborations? If somebody wants you on their track, or what are you open to? Live shows, I guess, in the Washington area?
Depending on what it is, I'm always open to I'm open to things. Yeah, sure. I mean, you can always contact me on the, like most websites, you got that little bar at the top. And so you go all the way to the right. It says contact, drop me a message. You can find me on Facebook, and message me through Facebook. I guess that'd be the best way to get a hold of me.
The website is great. Are you doing that yourself?
Yeah, I did that.
Man, it's good. It's easy to navigate, and it has all the info needed. You got the music. You got a place to buy it.
You can buy the music also directly off the website. It goes through PayPal. I don't take credit cards because it's too expensive. But you go through PayPal, and so if you go to the buy music section, you can listen to all 3 albums for free. Or if you wanted to buy them, you can, or the single songs, you can do that too. It's on Amazon, iTunes. Just look it up online, BCD Music Project, and you'll find it. Go to the website, you'll find it. It's there. Anyway, Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. It's really nice to catch up with you as well.
Man, it's good. I've been stalking you. I mean, following you around. I know stalking is such a harsh word, but I'm going to send people to the website. Please buy it from the website, because I'm sure that's where you make most of the money. I know Apple's got to take their little piece, and Spotify's got to take their little piece. But if you buy it directly from Brian Douglas off the website, I think you're going to make most of the money. And I want you to succeed, man. Hey,
thank you.
You've lived a life, and you're still living a life, and you're still contributing to society, giving people these nice sounds. All right, let's finish this thing off with last words for the people, like we did last time. This could be words to live by. This could be something you heard a long time ago, or whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Brian Douglas, BCD Music Project. Give the last words for the people.
My last word would just be to be kind. Just to go out of your way and just be kind, and it makes the world just a little bit better place when people are kind to each other instead of raking each other over the coals. So there you go. That's the last thing I guess I would say.
Well, there you have it, party people. Brian Douglas of the BCD Music Project. Dude, that guy, you've been around for a long, long time, perfecting your craft. Yeah, you can rock it out with the hardest ones, but you also can play it mellow. And I understand. I've done those shows in front of thousands and thousands of people, screaming and throwing things and just getting rowdy. And I'm glad, hey, not that I'm old, and not that you're old, but it's time to mellow out, and I can appreciate mellowing out to the BCD Music Project and your newest offering, From Life to Life, 11 brand new tracks that have been perfected, sauteed and baked to perfection by you, only you. You're a one-man show. That's impressive in itself, that you can mix, you can master your own songs, put them out to the world, and just, hey, and then you can play them live, and they'll sound pretty much like you recorded them because you record them live. That's a great process. That's, one of the things that people don't like when they go to a show. Hey, that doesn't sound anything like the record. Well, because that record was produced and overproduced and produced again. And yes, they don't sound anything like their record because maybe they didn't have quite the skill that they had, that the engineer had. The engineer overdubbed and put a lot of voice overdubbing and voice tracking and made sure that everything was perfect, spit spot. But then when you go live, it doesn't sound the same. All right. It is what it is. If you love the group, go out and support the group. If you love, I encourage you to support live music. If you're hanging out and you hear that there's a show coming up local, go support those local live artists. Go check out Brian Douglas over at the different shows. He's got a couple shows coming up. April 7th, he's on the radio. KPTZ 91.9 FM in Port Townsend, Washington. He'll be doing a show from 9 p.m. till ? Who knows when it ends? So just be there at 9 p.m. for the Cats in Our Laps with Phil Andrus. And then Sunday, July 21st, he's at Flourish Lavender of Lost Mountain from 11 a.m. until 12:30. That's in Sequim, Washington. And then the other one is Sunday, August 11th, the Vintage Port Townsend Vineyards from 3 to 5 p.m. That's some perfect drinking time. You get out of work early at 3. Actually, that's on a Sunday. So you got done with your Sunday go to meeting, and you go visit with Brian Douglas over at Vintage Port Townsend Vineyards. Have a little glass of wine. All right, that's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Thank you so much, Brian Douglas, for being on the program once again. The BCD Music Project and the newest record, From Life to Life. All right, that's it for this. Now, if I'm turning my attention to you, my loyal listener. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.